Hi, everybody. This is Rabbi Stuart Darrellman and Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges where history builds walls. And I thought I wanted to share something with you before Shabbat hits. We have a publication called Shulchan Shelanu. That's what it looks like. It comes every week on Thursdays. It's a study guide for you to use at your table to discuss with your family and your friends on Shabbat. It's a time to get fed not only with food, but with spiritual food. So we try to help you with that. Shulchan Shelanu means our table. And we've got stuff about the Torah reading, the Haftorah reading, about Jewish life, about relationship with God. We even have an advice column called Dear Rabby. Dear Rabby. It sounds like something else. I can't figure out what it is. But at any rate, I wanted to read you about Dear Rabby this week. And somebody writes to us. His name is Mark, and he says, you talk a lot about people coming into relationship with God and coming to faith, but that all sounds too general to me. Please help me understand this better by making things more explicit. What happens when people come to faith in the Messiah and into relationship with the God of Israel? That's a good question. So I want to share with you 4 or 5 encounters that take place when people come to the transition into Yeshua faith. It's a good question. The first encounter is a truth encounter. You come to the point where you go through a shift and you recognize that what the scripture has to say about human life is essentially true. I'm smiling because I remember when that happened with me. When Yeshua said, what hit me is when Yeshua said, it's not what goes into a man that defiles him. It's what God comes out of a man that defiles him. Out of the heart comes thefts, murder, fornication, wickedness, etc., etc. I remember when I read that, it struck me how deeply true it was. And as I continued reading the Bible, the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah, the essential truth of it just really struck me. I knew another fellow who went to my synagogue named Harry. And Harry told me, Jewish guy, Jewish engineer. Then when he started reading the Bible, he read it in order to prove it was false. But about halfway through, he said, I came to the conviction that if there were any questions that I had that hadn't been answered yet, they were somewhere in here. He went through that transition, that truth encounter, where you recognize that the scripture is true in a way that cannot be ignored. Isaiah says that if they don't speak according to this testimony, they have no light of dawn. So that's the first encounter, truth encounter. There's another encounter, the power encounter. You come to the point where you recognize that all spiritual empowerment that you desire must come from God. I remember 50 years ago meeting a young woman who was deeply involved in astrology. And she came into Yeshua faith. And then she wanted to throw her astrology books away, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. She wanted to, but she couldn't. She had a call for some elders of her congregation to help her throw them out because there was a struggle going on. So when you come to Yeshua faith, you come to the point where you say, I don't want any alternative spiritualities. I'm not going to go to any psychics. What comes to me as spiritual reality, the power that I seek, comes only from the God of Israel. That's number 2. Truth encounter, power encounter. We're almost done. Then comes the third, is allegiance encounter. You come to the point where you say that it's like the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. This is not a lesson in kind of spiritual mathematics. It's saying that in the pagan world, everybody had a God for this, a God for the harvest, a God for sex, a God for the other thing, God for the mountains, a God for the valleys. But for us, there is one God. All of our allegiance belongs to him. So you come to allegiance where you say, you turn over the keys to the car of your life and you say to God, you drive. So we have the truth encounter. We have the power encounter. We have the allegiance encounter where we come to acknowledge our allegiance to the true and living God through the Messiah, Fourthly, there's a covenantal encounter. This is especially for Jews. When you come to Yeshua faith, you recognize that we're part of a people. We're not just individuals. We're part of a people who made promises to God at Sinai. All that the Lord has spoken, we will do and we will obey. Na'aseh v'nishma, we will hear and we will obey. They confirmed that covenant at the plains of Moab in Deuteronomy 29. I suggest you read it, verse 9 to 14. It gives a whole list of everybody who's there. Everybody, every class of Jewish society is there. Even the people who draw their water and chop their wood, everybody's there. But then the scripture says, I'm not speaking only to you who are here today, but to him who is not here today. And all the commentators agree. Who is it that's not here today? The person who's not here today is the Jewish generations of the future. That covenant was made with us. We are implicated in the covenants that God made with our ancestors. So we come to a covenantal encounter where we realize that we have certain responsibilities as Jews that we have fallen heir to, and we need to honor those. So that's a covenantal encounter. There's one more, communal encounter. When you or I come to Yeshua faith, we need to recognize that we're not called just individually into Yeshua faith. We're called into a family. We're called into a familial relationship with other Yeshua believers. And so we have a communal encounter. We need to acknowledge the fact that there is community about in which we become members, in which we have responsibilities, and to whom we are accountable. So those 5 encounters, let's see if I can remember them. Truth encounter, power encounter, allegiance encounter, covenantal encounter for Jews, and communal encounter for all of us. Now that's the kind of stuff that you will find in Shulchan Shelanu, and I want you to be able to get Shulchan Shelanu. So I'm going to see if I can give you a way to do that. Hold on just one moment. Here we go, right here. Here is an address for you to get Shulchan Shelanu. Just look it up on the internet, www.interfaithfulness.org/Shulchan, Shulchan. Other people are subscribing to this. Why not you? You can have discussions on things like this at your table every week if you'll receive Shulchan Shelanu. So please look it up, www.interfaithfulness.org/Shulchan. And whether you do that or not, I just want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. It's been great being with you here at Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. Shabbat Shalom.